Namaste.
Namaste.
We start with the first sloka.
Comenzamos con el primer shloka, oración de la mañana.
May He protect us both, teacher and the taught.
Que nos protejamos, tanto profesor como alumno.
May He look after us both to enjoy the fruits of scriptural study.
Que nos proteja de tal manera que podamos recibir los frutos del estudio de las Escrituras.
May we both exert together to find the true meaning of the sacred text.
Que ambos podamos investigar juntos para descubrir los significados ocultos de los escritos sagrados.
May our studies be fruitful so that we acquire luster.
Que nuestros estudios sean profundos para poder así adquirir brillantez.
May we never quarrel with each other.
Y que nunca discutamos unos con otros.
Om, peace, peace, peace.
Om, paz, paz, paz.
The second sloka. O ye gods, may we always hear with our ears what is auspicious.
Oh, ustedes dioses, que podamos siempre escuchar a través de nuestros oídos lo que es auspicioso.
O worshipful ones, may we with our eyes always see what is auspicious.
Oh, ustedes que son adorables, que podamos siempre ver a través de nuestros ojos lo que es auspicioso.
May we live the entire span of our allotted life, hale and hearty, offering our praises unto Thee.
Y que podamos vivir a lo largo de nuestras vidas de corazón, pudiendo ofrendar nuestras oraciones a Ti.
May Indra, the ancient and the famous,
Que Indra, el antiguo y el famoso,
Pushan, the sun, the all-knowing, the Pushan, the sun, the all-knowing,
Pushan, el sol, el que todo lo conoce,
the Lord of swift motion, Vayu, who saves us from all harms,
el Señor del movimiento suave, Vayu, que es aire, que nos cuide de toda herida,
and Brahaspati, who protects the spiritual wealth in us.
y Brahaspati, que representa a Júpiter, que cuide la riqueza espiritual en nosotros,
Bless us with intelligence to understand the scripture
y que nos bendiga con inteligencia para poder entender las Escrituras,
and the resolute heart to follow the teachings.
y con un corazón fuerte para poder seguir estas enseñanzas.
Om, peace, peace, peace.
Que prevalezca la paz y la paz.
And the final sloka.
Y el último,
Om, may all become auspicious.
que todos nos tornemos auspiciosos,
May all attain peace.
que todos alcancemos la paz,
May all achieve perfection.
que todos alcancemos la perfección
May all be blessed.
y que todos seamos bendecidos.
Om Sahana Bhavato Sahano Bhunakto Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Mavit Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Bhadram Karnebihi Shrinuyama Devaha Bhadram Pashyemakshabiryajatraha Sthirairangaistuštuvagum shastanubhihi Vyasema Devahitam Yadayuho Swasti na Indro Vruddhashravaha Swasti na Pusha Vishwavedaha Swasti nastarksho Arishtanemihi Swasti no Brihaspati Dhadato. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So namaste to everyone. Please take your seats. So all the things we discussed yesterday and the exploration into our life and into consciousness and to Shiva who is beyond that consciousness, that was our journey yesterday. And in that journey, are there any questions which did not get answered spontaneously? Are there questions? You got to be completely open with the questions. This is a forum for us to thrash out questions. Yeah, yourself.
I was thinking about you saying about detachment, and I've seen that life is a constant flow of attachments and detachments, like with loved ones and even material things sometimes. So I think through all my life I've been like constantly attached and detached from things. And like years ago it was more the pain that I felt. And right now I can kind of deal with the pain. Not going away from the pain, but just like getting it in and letting the monster eat me.
Right.
I'm just learning that.
Great.
But I'm not even close to 60.
No, that doesn't matter. I have given please remember. I have given you the way ancient Hindu society was structured very intelligently by the rishis who constituted the creative minority of that society, and in their view and in their perception, having watched the whole flow of life, then they said, this is the average pattern. So think of a graph like this, an average pattern, it has to go like this. Then there will always be statistical fluctuations around that mean. So number of dots not actually fitting into that Sandraji, not fitting into the, not actually on the curve, but deviating from the curve. So, and I gave an example that Ramana Maharshi got the blessing of this moksha at the age of 16. He did not even seek it. And there was no artha and kama for him. So there are cases, the saints. For example, in Gujarat, there has been a saint called Swami Narayan. Then in Bengal, there has been a saint called Ramakrishna, Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. And in the south, Ramana Maharshi. Then Shirdi Baba. And then Nityananda Maharaj. Now these are masters and saints for whom artha and kama did not even exist. Swami Narayan renounced life at the age of 9. So they represent extreme examples and freaks, spiritual freaks. Please understand. What I am talking about is a mean pattern, and there are always statistical fluctuations around the mean. And so you can get connected to the divine before 60. And but whether Maya will let go of you or Maya will follow you like your shadow, that's a different thing. It depends on what is the will of God in your life. And you've got to understand it. That's different from person to person.
And just this dealing with maybe attachment, detachment, and pain and whatever. I'm trying to deal with it in a spiritual way, like with the teachings that were given us and maybe reading like the Yoga Sutras as you said yesterday or something, practicing the yogas. this will help deal with this, and at the point that for the life of each human being,
Right.
you get
Right.
what you have to get.
Right.
So it's just like kind of continue this spiritual
Of course.
way that
Of
is
course.
coming to my life. And
Of
just
course.
enjoy
Of
it.
course. Build the spiritual life. The spiritual life is something that has to be built like a house. And when the house is fully built, you enter into it. And the peculiar thing about the spiritual life is you have to completely empty the consciousness. There should be no content in consciousness. It becomes a void. Not liking it? Not liking it? So, like building a house. So you build a house brick by brick with cement and with steel, and then it takes 8 months or 2 years to build a house. Now similarly, you've got to build the spiritual life. And what is the culmination of the building of the spiritual life? Completely evacuating the self. The self becomes void. Nothing for yourself, no past, no future. And then how are you to live? You've got to live by marrying the present. You're always rooted in the present. Not attached to the past and not dreaming of the future, but rooted in the present. And that's the final thing. It may not happen today. But that's where you got to get. So the present moment is all there is. The future is fictitious, a projection of desire, and the past is a burden to which you have not died, so it's just hanging on like many ghosts clinging to your shoulders and clinging to your ears. Got to throw them off. And then you have that freedom. And then the intelligence is aflame, is awakened. You can see things clearly. You can see things clearly, so you're your own teacher. May not happen for everybody, but if you strive on the path and if you start learning, then what you actually do is not just help yourself get that clarity and that light and that peace and that understanding, but unknowingly you give the whole of humanity a push by the sincerity of your effort. You added something by way of a charitable offering to the spiritual seeking of the whole of the human race. By just one individual doing something wholeheartedly, plunging into it completely. Then you add momentum to the human species going towards salvation, towards the source.
I have 2 questions. One would be, most of us come from the Oneness University.
Which university?
The Oneness.
Oneness University, of course.
And there they tell us that we would be awakened, doing this or doing that or expecting this, or, but it will be by grace, by the grace. So one of my questions is how do we relate awakeness with your teachings? Is that moksha? Is that, can it happen anytime? That's one of the questions.
Okay.
Shall I tell you the second one?
Of course.
Okay. The second one is that you say that we shouldn't try to be something else. That we have to accept us the way we are right now. But at the same time, you talk about an effort. And something to do, like studying the scriptures, whatever, sadhanas. Isn't that trying to become something else?
No, it has to be natural for you. It has to be natural as part of your seeking. Now, on the spiritual journey, there is the birth of seeking. Seeking has to take birth, and that seeking is exactly like the seeking for money, the seeking for a life partner, for a companion, the seeking for name and fame, and we know this game so well. Worldly seeking. So the seeking for God or ultimate reality is the same kind of seeking, except that the object is the ultimate reality. No difference. You're seeking. Now you're accustomed to that seeking because the seeking is part of Maya. Because it's based on duality, that you are this and that is something else out there and you've got to go and grab it. And you've been grabbing this, whether it's a companion, whether it's a boyfriend, a girlfriend, wealth, status, position, prestige, name and fame, fulfillment of your ambition. You're doing this grabbing. Now, you've got to be told by somebody, and I'm telling you here, that moksha is not a fruit you can grab. Because you're accustomed to that grabbing. Follow closely, you're accustomed to that grabbing. And then you hear something about moksha, and you think, okay, now this is going to be another feather in my cap. Now just think of it. Now if somebody gives you a certificate that you got moksha, and you hang it on the wall of your office, how stupid is that? Who on earth can testify whether you got moksha or not other than yourself? Only you ought to know, and if you're honest enough, you'll say, no, I didn't get it. And if you got it, you'll say, yeah, I got it, but you may not make a noise about it. So you've got to think, how come that in the spiritual life, where worldly life is concerned, you're thinking, you're so perceptive, you're so sharp, and in the spiritual life, you become so passive, you become so gullible, you're not thinking at all, you're just following like blind sheep. Yeah, you may be one of the blind sheep in the beginning, but should you remain a blind sheep till death? Yeah? Ask yourself that question. And my thing is, the retreats I'm conducting, it's actually for people like myself. So what is that? What does that mean? That means people who are struggling and suffering to find God in their life. Because that's what I've done. I was spiritually initiated by my master when I was 14 or 15, just by giving some mantras. Sri Bhagavan is my master, he initiated me. Then he asked me to study Krishnamurti's teaching, which I did very deeply. And I'm watching and watching for 8 to 10 years, I'm just watching. And it's not a thing which can do just for half an hour or 1 hour. It's a thing you've got to do for your whole life. It's a way of life. And so coming back to your question now. Now, I'm saying something which may be different from the teachings in the oneness that you got. Now pay close attention. Now, ultimately, where should the understanding consolidate itself and attain pristine purity? It should be in your consciousness. The understanding must become so rock solid that even if you listen to 100 other masters speaking, and you have the time and the opportunity by destiny to actually study 100 scripture books, you will be not rocked and unsettled from your conviction. That's understanding. That's what I call understanding. And you've got to get that. And if you do not listen to other masters and other teachings, and you only listen to one master and one teaching, then how are you to test yourself whether your understanding or your clarity will be stable when you are exposed to other teachings, or the moment you are exposed to other teachings, then you go into an instability. You lose your conviction, you get new doubts, and you are in a flurry. So what is the spiritual life? Is it just a lot of gullibility, or is it something much more than that, where you've got to invest your whole life and you've got to do this work yourself? So you've got to listen to many people, and you've got to see whether you're shaking and wobbling as you listen, or whether you nod assent to the truth. Because in the Vedas it is said that ekam sat vipraha bahuda vadanti. That is, the truth is one, the sages speak of it in various ways, each using different metaphors, different language, different sutras, different principles, same eternal truth, taught in myriads of ways. And you got to therefore listen to it so that you know that you are absolutely impregnable in the face of any new teaching. Should that not be the test, whether you got it or not? Answer my question. Yeah. Or should you be frogs in a well? There are many spiritual frogs in spiritual wells and who do not migrate to other wells. And you got to think all this by yourself, not me having to tell you, please do this homework. You got to work it out. It's not just blind belief, just going somewhere. As I said, work with the teachings of many masters. Study and take what suits your temperament. Because you've got a certain temperamental inclination, which may be emotional, which may be intellectual, which may be, you may be a kind of activist kind of person, giving to too much activity, want to jump into something and keep doing everything. So, know yourself, what your temperament is, and go on a path, get onto a path which is completely natural for you and where you feel so happy you're bouncing. That's your path. That's called swadharma. That is a dharma or a teaching or a path which is completely, it fits you like exactly your jacket. It just fits you. It's right for you. It's not tight somewhere. It's just right for you. And then you've got to work it out. And the problem may be that actually, that while you may be doing a lot of window shopping in the spiritual life. And just running here and there, depending on the sensory stimulus that you get from so many different directions. But as I said, I'm looking for people like myself, people who are struggling and who are weeping. I probably wept 1,000 times wanting to get connected to the source, weeping by myself. 1,000 times. And every time I try to move towards God, I'm not able to ask anything for anything in the worldly life, but I'm just weeping out of adoration and devotion for Him, to get completely connected. So I'm looking for those people. This teaching is for those people. And you've got to see that that's the culmination of the spiritual life. Anything less than that, maybe not really the thing. And then it may be a kind of, you keep your worldliness, you keep your worldliness, you keep your ego, and you keep your past, you keep your future, and then come to God. Then what is that life? Follow closely. You keep your wealth, you keep your God, you keep your name and fame, and you keep your ego intact, and you keep your past, and you keep your future, and then you say you're a seeker. No, that's not seeking. That's just a lot of illusion. Because just think of yourself in the worldly life, how you go about doing anything. That you want to achieve something professionally, or you want to achieve something in a marriage. You want to get married to your beloved. And how intense you are in the whole thing. You just burn yourself out. Now, it's got to be the same thing in the spiritual field. When you want to get to God, you've got to completely throw yourself, dedicate yourself for that. And the world, and with all its temptations and its inducements for you, it's got to lose hold on you. Then you're a seeker. And this is for the seekers, because we're struggling. Am I making sense? Yes. Making sense? So I want to quote a Roman historian called Gibbons, who is talking something about a teacher and a taught. That is, when does actually the learning attain perfection and fulfillment? So this is a sutra from the Roman historian Gibbons. It says, the power of instruction is seldom of much efficacy, except in those happy dispositions where it is almost superfluous.
Again?
The power of